On today's episode of the Ducks on 503 podcast, we preview the defensive line and edge position heading into spring ball 2023. I'm your host, Dominic Peterson, and this is the Ducks on 503 podcast where we talk all things Oregon football. Whether this is your first time viewing or you're a long-time viewer of the podcast, I kindly ask that you guys hit that like and subscribe button down below. Most importantly, telling your friends and family about the podcast is what helps grow this podcast the fastest. I really appreciate everybody that really does lock in and subscribe down below, as well as following our social medias to get the quickest updates about Oregon football at DuckZone503 on Instagram and Twitter. The spring game is going to be on April 29th, 1 p.m. I will see you guys there. I'll be vlogging. Say what's up if you guys see me. On the channel, we're going to be continuing our Oregon Ducks spring preview, and we're going to take a look at the defensive line and edge position right now. Coach Tosh Lupoy and Tony Toyota returned to the Ducks to lead the defensive front for the second year in a row. We all knew it was going to be a challenge to replace the production that came from star defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau when he left for the NFL. Thibodeau was selected the 5th overall pick by the New York Giants. Many Duck fans, including myself, had high expectations for the front seven when landing high-rated coach like Tosh Lupoy, a name that holds a lot of weight, a guy that's been around the Pac-12, been in the NFL, okay? A lot of schools want him. He's been at Alabama in that 2015 year when Alabama was absolutely dominant, right? You're pairing him with Dan Lanning, a defensive-minded coach. You got guys like Noah Sewell, Justin Flo in your linebacker position. Yeah, you lose Kayvon Thibodeau, but you had a promising core of young guys. And it just didn't really work out for the front seven, guys. The defensive line did not really get pressure at all last season. The Oregon football team only recorded 18 sacks total. That is abysmal, guys. 18 sacks, that's the lowest since the mid-1980s for the Oregon football program, guys. It needs to be a lot better. On top of that, they're going to be losing their leading pass rusher off this last year, and DJ Johnson is going to go ahead and go give it a try in the NFL. He finished the year with 6 sacks that led the Ducks this last season. He's gone. They're going to have to get somebody to step up for sure. Now, they did make some additions in the transfer portal and through recruiting, a lot of additions, and we're going to talk about it here. Defensive end, let's start with the defensive end position. We got Brandon Dorlus and Trevin Mae. So Trevin Mae and Brandon Dorlus. So Brandon Dorlus makes a surprising announcement that he's going to return for another season with the Ducks. It instantly, when that happened, it instantly upped the level of talent on this Oregon defensive line. If he was to leave, that would make this depleted defensive line even more depleted than it already is. Dorlus will be looked to as a veteran leader for the group that needs a major increase of production for success, no doubt. Behind him, the guy, Trevin Mae, could really turn into a solid piece this season as well. He's been in the program for a little while now. If he's able to develop in another season behind Dorlus, he was looking to maybe get a starting role if Dorlus was to leave. Now he gets another year of development. Could he become something really solid, a nice rotation player? We'll see in this upcoming season here. All right, guys, so continuing on at the defensive tackle positions, we got Casey Rogers and Keon Ware-Hudson. The defensive line, again, stays strong in the middle with the return of Casey Rogers. He was actually a really low-key, underrated piece at the defensive line, a shining star in a position group that really wasn't that productive. Casey Rogers was. Rogers came on really good, especially particularly late in the season in that Oregon State and North Carolina game in the Holiday Bowl. He was absolutely stuffing the runs, getting to the quarterback. I mean, the guy looked like he was coming into his own late in the season, especially in the system of Dan Lanning, probably getting real comfortable with the guys he's around, and he was starting to show out. So if he could continue that momentum coming into this year, that would be big for Casey Rogers. Then behind Rogers, you have an experienced player in Keon Ware-Hudson, who also contributed great minutes as well last year. When they need to step out, the defensive line really rotates a lot under Lanning and Lupoy. You're able to get Keon Ware-Hudson, a young player, some play time, get some reps. It's always good. Nose tackle position, you got Popo Amave returning from injury, and then Taki Tiamani there. Popo Amave missed the entirety of the 2022 season with an injury, so he'll be returning, and it'll be really interesting to watch how he comes off that injury. As you know, these are big guys. They might not come off 100%, especially at the start of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if we seen Taki start there. I know everybody probably expects Popo to take that starting spot, But you never know with these injuries if these guys are really 100%. If they're kind of not as explosive as they once were. We'll see. We'll see where he's at. So is he as explosive? Is he as strong? Is he as conditioned as before? When you're sitting there with an injury, as long as he was, are you conditioned to play as many snaps as you were? So it's good that the Ducks also have Taki Tiamani on the roster. And he should be much improved after 1 year in the system. So, after 1 year in the system, getting adapted, getting team chemistry up, Taki Tiamani should shine just as well as Casey Rogers should as well in year 2. Taki was very reliable last year, filling in for the injured Amave when Amave went down. At the edge position here, this one's going to be fun to talk about. Jordan Birch and Mace Funa. So obviously, guys, it was not a secret that the Ducks needed a major upgrade at the edge position after last year's showing. I mean, it was complete awful getting pressure on the quarterback. So when Oregon landed Jordan Birch in the transfer portal, guys, and let me tell you, a former 5-star recruit from South Carolina, I almost jumped out of my seat. I was like, let's go. That's exactly what the Ducks did. I think the Ducks were all in, all chips in, and on the prep level for Nicholas Harbor, who eventually chose South Carolina. So it's kind of funny how they get a prep guy, we get one of their former 5-stars. They get a 5-star, we'll trade. So that's kind of cool to see. Should be able to elevate the Ducks pass rush this year. I think he is a better pass rush than GJ Johnson. I don't think, he just hasn't hit that level like Jadeveon Clowney, maybe a Kayvon Thibodeau. He's getting there. But he goes ahead and transfer new scenery. Let's see what he can do under Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi's scheme, right? Oregon also has Mace Funa behind him, fresh off the Holiday Bowl defensive MVP performance. So he left off on a bright note. He comes back. Funa is a longtime starter here at Oregon and one of the more consistent players on the team. Although I do want to see Mace Funa step up, man. If he's going to get some reps, I want to see him get to the quarterback more often because I think that was a guy that Lanning was really relying on trying to get to the quarterback in, and you just didn't really see it from Mace Funa too much. So really want to see Funa kind of step up, continue that performance that we've seen in the Holiday Bowl, be dominant. Longtime starter here at Oregon. A lot of people know his name, and we're going to be looking for him to make plays, as well as Jordan Birch, a new addition. That's going to be a big-time addition, guys. I'm telling you, big-time addition. So once again, guys, I really appreciate everybody tuning in once again. This was a spring preview for the defensive line and edge position. I'm going to be continuing rolling out my spring previews all the way up to the spring game on April 29th. If you guys want to go check out the other previews on the other position groups, I also have my 5 storylines heading into spring ball video on the channel. So go ahead and check those out if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button if you haven't already. Most importantly, like I always say, guys, telling your friends and family about the podcast. All Duck fans around, tell them about Ducks on 503 right here on YouTube. As always, guys, go Ducks. I'm your host, Dominic Peterson. I'll see you in the next podcast.